World of Warcraft's development team size has just increased significantly. Season 4 has got a release date. We've got drama and developments in Wrath Classic, plus a whole bunch more, because it really has been quite a week for World of Warcraft, one that has seen Blizzard actually make some significant moves towards the game's long-term future. Actually feels pretty good to be able to say that. So, actually, awesome stuff today. And if you'd like to support the team that makes all this stuff happen, who, in fact, the game team are literally through that wall playing D&D right now, you can check out some of the cool loot that they've made over, of course, on Patreon. That's what they do when they're not doing work on the Pale Beyond. Or the other thing. Some of you might be cluing on soon to what the other thing is, but I'm just going to be a bit aloof and mysterious for a little while yet, maybe 6 to 9 months. Oh, 9, it's not a baby. Okay, before this weird self-promo gets too loopy, let's talk about Spellbreak. Okay, Blizzard have acquired a whole other studio. Yep, and they've done it explicitly to work in World of Warcraft. Kind of crazy, right? So that actually brings 100 staff to the World of Warcraft development team, and thanks to Matt's tireless breakdown of the Shadowlands credits, a kind of 15 to 20% increase to the core Warcraft development team size. Though, I should note that 500 is probably a bit out of date anyway, because Blizzard have been expanding the Warcraft team, like they just have been, supposedly beyond their replacement rate. So that's pretty good news. Now, what's even better is the studio they've acquired, Proletariat, are a mix of MMO vets from Turbine. They've also got founding people from Harmonix and Insomniac, but they very much have got an eye toward MMOs, live games, and fantasy. Well, WoW ticks all those boxes. Now, what's led to this is actually kind of sad. So they made a game called Spellbreak, and it basically just didn't catch on. Now, the game itself is actually pretty damn great. It's got an 85 in Steam, highly rated elsewhere. 10 million players have actually sort of been through it. But the problem, of course, with a lot of these games is getting people to stick around and actually having a viable business model. So the game, Spellbreak, is a fantasy battle royale. Basically imagine like Naraka Bladepoint, but swap the ninjas for wizards. Matt actually played it yesterday. He reported back that the game is really fun. Now, the problem is that a game like that needs to hit a certain critical mass to be financially stable and to kind of make the continued development make sense. And sadly for them, it just didn't. So, they know the genre, and they are all people very interested in MMOs who want to make MMOs. I think some murmurings that that's the sort of thing they actually wanted to work towards anyway. But they know the genre, they have a lot of MMO experience in their team, and another nice perk is they're on the East Coast of the United States. Now, I know that quite a lot of work can happen remote, but what this does do is it opens up Blizzard to hiring East Coast talent for Warcraft. Right? Not everyone wants to relocate to California, so that's another great strength. And I guess also with Blizzard Albany, who used to be called Vicarious Visions, they've now got 2 studios on the East Coast. Now, the why for all of this is self-evident, but it is nice to at least hear it in their words. So, per Mike Ybarra, the president of Blizzard, they are putting players at the forefront of everything they do, and they are working hard to both meet and exceed their expectations. That's the quote from him. Then for John Haidt, who is the general manager of World of Warcraft, he noted that players' appetite for content was not being met by the sort of current output, that last year really shows them the need to increase the amount of content that they can create for the game. So that's all good stuff, good acknowledgements. A larger team, I mean, yeah, it sure will help eventually. And it's quite funny, compare World of Warcraft to Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, or just many other franchises out there, the really big ones. I mean, if you want to look at a crazy thing, you know, MiHoYo, the people who make Genshin Impact, and they have some other projects in the works, I think they had like 1,500 people at Genshin, at least at one point. Now they've got like 4,000 staff. Like Assassin's Creeds, those are like humongous efforts. Same for Call of Duty. Basically, while the rest of the industry has been getting totally bonkers at their team sizes, with Warcraft they have kept it seemingly like a bit more trim, and more recently they've really felt the need to expand. So yeah, a bigger team will help. I'd also say, not to be too much of a dickhead, that making an expansion that is not riddled with very boring borrow power, that still takes a hell of a lot of balancing time and just a bunch of, systems junk, probably would help too. And I know I meant that as a dig, but it actually seems like they're like, not running into those problems for Dragonflight, so that's also kind of nice. Where we are left then is basically Dragonflight having an expanded team. This is apparently going to help them get the expansion over the line, but to be honest with you, I'd more expect the benefits here to come online for the patch content of this expansion, which is certainly good news. I mean, you might remember the good times of the first half of Mists of Pandaria, the first, like, 2/3 of Legion, but, oh boy, the content's been slow, hasn't it? So, yeah, that there are more people who can work on that patch content is great. The reason why I say the patch content is the sort of common wisdom anyway is it's really about 6 months for a new member of staff to truly get up to speed. And now also, Proletariat are expanding their team, as are Blizzard, overall meaning that World of Warcraft is actually getting more resources than ever. So, look, no doubt these investments should have been made long, long ago, but this is transparently a good thing that is happening for the game right now. But what about things to do in the game? Well, Season 4 starts August 2nd, bringing with it the fated version of Shadowlands Raids, the new Mythic Plus season that, well, it includes all 3 mega dungeons, 2 for each of them, and then 2 Warlords of Draenor dungeons, as well as the whole new deterministic gearing system that we covered in a video a few months back now. But look, it should be interesting, especially given that Dragonflight is targeted for later on this year. So this is going to be a pretty quick season. And it does mean that there's at least non-stop stuff to do in-game. Now that said, it's kind of remixed content, so I know it's not going to appeal to most people, but look, it does have a few really good game design experiments in it, and at least for the slice of the player base who are just interested in that remixed content, it'll be something novel and fresh feeling for them to do. It also does mean that while the alpha, sort of beta hype cycles and Wrath Classic is going on, that there'll actually be something a little fresh in the live game. That's kind of rare. Okay, next, some more biz stuff. Blizzard sure are spinning up their marketing machine. There's a new landing page that's been made for new and returning players. It's called Adventure Calls, and I suppose it's just Blizzard trying to market the game more, trying something new. The landing page has got a brand new trailer that's like one of those ones filmed in a sort of a fantasy tavern set. It's kind of neat. It's also got a bunch of suggested new player guide videos, including the one that we did for the WOW channel, the Warcraft official channel, back in BFA. So if they still linked that, I guess we're not on the blacklist. Awesome. There's also links to a new official Swedish Discord for Warcraft and a very interesting FAQ. So overall, look, this is good to see. There is more effort being put into new blood for the game. I would certainly say now is not the time to join World of Warcraft. You should do that if you're like, if you've somehow wandered on here and you don't play WoW. I mean, first, how the hell did that happen? But second, stop. Stop. Don't play the game right now. Play it when Dragonflight comes out, because when you level up with a new talent system, it will, well, we assume, feel quite a bit better. But anyway, they're doing that. Seemingly there's a bit more support for new players via the dedicated Discord server, primarily for Swedish players, yes, but perhaps that's a prototype for something they want to do in other regions as well. So there you go. Look, it actually just seems that they're putting effort into Warcraft across multiple dimensions, which is totally a good thing. Oh, and also the deal-making dimension, because I sure hope you're subbed to Daddy Jeff. Well, good news, fellow viewers of The Boys. After initially leaking it themselves via a Hearthstone post earlier on this week, Blizzard have now officially announced the Prime Gaming Rewards for World of Warcraft, which I suppose is a new enough thing for us. We're going to be getting the old in-game store helms that were removed a few years back and, placed in the Blizzard archive, which of course is located right next to the Disney Vault. The first helm that we're getting is the Jewel of the Fire Lord, and you can actually claim that until July 26th, after which it will, go back in the vault, back into the archive. And then the next helm will be claimed, and that helm will be the Hood of Hungering Darkness. That'll be running from July 27th to August 23rd, and then the final one is the Crown of Eternal Winter, which is available to claim from August 24th to September 20th. There you go. Don't really know if this will make anyone start playing WoW, but I guess it's a thing you can click on and you'll get a helm. Now, some people are a bit disappointed because people, of course, originally purchased these on the store way back in the day, But, yeah, well, so, you know, they won't be getting any value from this. But anyway, look, there you go. I wonder, it's like if Blizzard added completely new rewards, then I think plenty of people would be a bit ticked off that they're not earnable in-game, right? So it is what it is. It's marketing. It's deal-making. And if you think that is it for an Amazon property, well, just wait, because on Overwatch 2, they're doing a thing right now where if you know, for select streamers, gift 3 subs, you get a skin in the game. So, you know, it's a great form of wealth redistribution from the corporation of Blizzard to, you know, needy up-and-coming streamers like XQC. Okay, let's move on. We've got quite a few updates for Dragonflight Alpha this week then, and this is pretty cool to hear. It does suggest that, well, public testing is probably imminent. First off, WoW Vendor 3 got updated from an old build to 10.0. That actually means we've got 2 WoW clients on Blizzard CDN that are running Dragonflight Alpha. Not that you can play them yet. That's not all though, because the Dragonflight internal alpha client called WoWDev actually got a new 10.0 build this week. It's one that's actually slightly newer than the one that is over on WoW Vendor 3. Basically, well, we don't know 100%, it very much does seem that internal testing for Dragonflight is now well underway at Blizzard, with frequent updates happening on a near weekly basis, in addition, of course, to the brand new endpoint. So, as for what this could mean for us, in a word, soon. Genuinely soon. It's Wrath time. Okay, we've got a new beta build. It's one that actually has a new invite wave that, well, I got into, so that's kind of nice. Now, this build actually brings us up to level 80, but it does bring with it 2 controversies. First, the Wrath Pass, and second, the quest tracking thing. Okay, so the build has contained a new character service info database entry called Wrath Pass. So, yes, Wrath Classic is going to be getting its own version of the Dark Portal Pass. What a surprise. Yeah. It seems this one takes you to level 70, which is somewhat interesting. The previous one took you to level 58. And that's interesting because level 68 is actually when you can start Northrend. But there you go. What a surprise. Certainly this is kind of going to be a way for them to just, I mean, make some money off players who want the service, undercut the power leveling stuff, and, you know, make a pretty penny off all those botters who boost characters up. Sweet. Okay, that said, this is a service that will not be available, I believe, on the Fresh Start realms, at least for 90 days, potentially more. So that is a good thing. Now, the other aspect of Wrath Classic and Business is, of course, any form of deluxe edition that'll probably have, like, mounts, toys, pets, that kind of thing. It's not announced, but it is extremely likely given that there are yet more encrypted rewards on the current live build of World of Warcraft. I suppose one possibility could actually be the Nerubian Swarmer. That was actually part of the Shadowlands mount competition that they did with the community. Of course, we all got the Ancient in-game, the Spell Tome was then added for the Mage Tower, the Slime Saber is going to be Season 4 Fated Raids, so I suppose they could use this thing for Wrath. Next then, I've got quest tracking. Oh boy, right, look, we did a full deep dive into the impact the quest tracker had. More specifically, what the quest tracker era of quest design meant for the game, because it changed things. I actually think it's one of the best videos that we've done in a while, so be sure to check that out. It's the video on the channel that came out before this one. So, look, there's how we instantly feel about an issue, right? Gut reaction, fast thinking. I would just implore you to slow down, think from first principles, and just don't react, right? I just think that's important. Right, to get into the drama side of it then, so back in April, the WoW Classic lead, Brian Birmingham, stated in interviews that the quest tracker, which was added in 3.3, will not be returning in Wrath Classic at all. Now, at the time, Brian said that they wanted players to be able to experience the game where they are reading the quest text, exploring the world, trying to discover where things are, sending them, just sending them across the world, and to have, quote, that kind of immersive experience of living throughout the world and exploring through the quest text. Look, it's pretty simple. If a quest is like blah, 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 do this, go over there, head west past the thing, then you'll be like, okay, I've got to work out where the thing is and head west. You'd be thinking about the world. that almost by default causes more immersion. The thing is, in a world where like it's all thoughtbot and add-ons, you don't do any of that thinking, which kind of does subtly change, but in a very significant way, how you actually process the experience of World of Warcraft. So they did not want full-blown quest tracking to be pushed into players' faces, that's a quote, by the default UI experience, saying instead that they wanted players to experience leveling in Wrath the same way that it was at the launch of Wrath. However, in a recent dev update on the matter, Blizzard said that they will in fact be adding quest tracking at some point to Wrath Classic, citing a change in design philosophy since April's interviews were actually conducted. So, why the sudden change in design philosophy then? That's the question. Did the very loud masses online end up forcing their hand? Did they legitimately change their view? Does this change contradict the strict foundational pillars to Wrath Classic's sort of some changes policy that they outlined last week? Who knows? Either way, I just want to leave you with something. It is something we really talk about properly at the end of yesterday, or the previous video on the channel. Think about Elden Ring and how its lack of quest tracking and that kind of thing led to tremendous immersion, tremendous success, and a lot of very hilariously, you think you do but you don't, style Horizon Forbidden West developers being completely dunked on across the internet because they didn't seem to understand why streamlining cognition out of a game is bad. Ah, the internet. And now time for a special insert recording, because just after I finished recording yesterday, 9.2.7, I believe, went onto the PTR, right? This is almost certainly the patch that will come out along with Season 4, and it's got two updates. I think, well, they're interesting. First, there's a new chat channel that is for the advertisement of basically trade services. So, boosts, right? And then the other thing is they are making the commodities market on the auction house be regional, okay? So that means like selling a BOE, that's going to be on your realm's AH. But for commodities like, you know, cloth, or those are going to be region-wide. And I think interesting implications. On the topic of the boosting services thing, clearly Blizzard just want to have a bucket that all that shit can go into, right? I think they want that. They don't like the trade channel being just completely polluted by advertising all the time. Maybe they try to cut that down a little bit with their previous changes regarding boosting. That obviously didn't end up working that great in the fullness of time, so now they're trying something else. It's the kind of thing, they're not going to outright ban that, right? They're just not going to do that. But instead, what they want to try and do is make sure that it's contained, that it happens in its sort of dedicated place. And that means that if you don't want to see all that spam, you should be able to just opt out of that chat channel or just not show it, and you won't have to see that stuff. Of course, there's the topic of enforcement. Will the regular trade channel still be full of advertising? I mean, probably, unless they actually do something there. So, a bit of an interesting one. And then for the auction house thing, I've certainly seen a lot of the gold makers are not particularly happy about this. There's a few different reasons. A lot of gold makers actually like to go on low to medium servers because the economies just get so, like, competitive and, like, I mean, with all the cancel scanning and stuff on big realms, that it just kind of gets annoying for them. What this should mean for the average player, though, is more stable commodity pricing and availability with it just won't be possible for a single player to completely corner the market, because it'll be, say, all the ore of every server is on one auction house, right? So, I mean, you need the most insane amount of gold to corner that market. So I guess that's what they're trying to do. This could be a relatively nice thing, actually, for the majority of players. Now, of course, you know, a stabilizing of commodity prices, that will have an impact on all the things that come forth from those commodities. So it'll be interesting to see what that does to prices. Certainly, it's going to change up the kind of texture of the World of Warcraft economy in a way that I think is going to be decently tricky to predict. I'm certainly not the most well-equipped to do that. And also, I think it's of note that this is a change they're doing ahead of the profession revamp in the next expansion. So perhaps this is something that's been on their list for quite a while. And I believe this is from an older comment, but I think it's more possible for them to do this with the commodities market than it is for like specific items. I believe there was technical hurdles for that. So anyway, there was two unexpected and I think welcome for many players, though certainly not particularly welcome for a subsection of players. But there you go. That's what's up with those changes. I mean, for sure, like if you're advertising boosts all the time and you're no longer allowed to use the proper trade chat for that, then sure, your posts in the new boosting channel will get exposure to people who want boosts, but you might actually miss out on that kind of broader, like broader spectrum of people who are just going to be looking at trade chat. Kind of interesting. We'll just have to see where it goes. Right, game stuff. Okay, more Mythic nerfs are happening because they kind of want the cutting edge rates to be more similar to what they typically are. We are in the middle of creating a video that is a super deep dive kind of into the hardcore numbers of all of this. It was led by Dakar on our team. He has done some bloody incredible work on it. And suffice to say, the numbers are actually just bloody shocking. They are not good. I can totally see why Blizzard have been doing all of these nerfs, and it does raise a significant set of fascinating questions. I'd say almost about the impact that some aspects of maybe the Race to World First have kind of had, right? Because if Blizzard have got to balance for a team that have done 2 weeks of split runs, and I guess got all the legendary powers and stuff, the double egos, then it's like, man, I don't know. Anyway, it's quite a thing. We're working the video. It'll come out in a bit. Okay, other in-game things then. There has been a bit of a controversy this week. I know, a surprising thing in the WoW community regarding the announced Destro Warlock nerfs. Because on the one hand, this spec definitely needed to be nerfed. It had an insane amount of AoE pump in Mythic Plus, right? But the problem is that ship sailed months ago, when it should have been nerfed. Nothing was changed though, and only now, around 4 months into the tier, has Blizzard finally decided to do something about it. This is basically what happens when frequent class tuning does not occur throughout a patch. You end up with huge swaths of changes coming out of nowhere in a way that basically nobody expected, and that can be tricky when it comes into player investment, right? So thankfully, Blizzard have actually decided to delay these nerfs until Season 4. This is something that the community, at the very least at the high end, does mostly agree on. Now, while these changes will of course impact everyone, it would have disproportionately affected teams in the MDI, and also players who are progressing bosses or pushing the highest keys on live servers. And I think Blizzard basically just didn't want to do a rug pull on them, right? I mean, since Blizzard didn't actually care to gradually tune Destro locks into a reasonable place over the course of this patch, I think it does make sense to delay them into Season 4 now. It's just, if you let it run for so long, then that's the conditions, that's the rules of the game. You can't go changing them towards the very end. If you don't want Destro to be OP, then you've got to tune your shit early when it's a developing story. Now, there's also been a bunch of actual class tuning this week too, with some nice buffs to Guardian Druids, Vengeance Demon Hunters, and also to Affliction Warlocks, so that's pretty nice. Blizzard have said that they've noticed that both Guardian and Vengeance are falling behind the pack in terms of the amount of damage they do, particularly in single target situations, so basically the buffs are aiming to fix that while not unduly impacting AoE. They've also fixed a very frustrating bug that was causing Hunter's auto-shot to be cast when targeting Sepulchre bosses with the left mouse button after being rezzed. So yes, you've heard it here, Hunter pulls are always Blizzard's fault. Get that into your head, raid leaders. And of course there's some more, because after apparently many weeks of being top priority for the QA teams, now all of the Halandris visual bugs have been resolved. And to mark the occasion, Blizzard have put together a lengthy blue post detailing their progress, basically just explaining what the causes were and why it took them so long. And that's actually really awesome. It's really great to see, and it's interesting. I mean, if something like this has happened, yeah, it's a situation, but to actually get the peek behind the curtain, that's the special thing. That's cool. So the reason why is apparently because they found it extremely hard to replicate the bugs under the same conditions that they were being reported. However, within the last week, a sole engineer in the team was able to do what nobody else could: reliably reproduce the visual bugs. Now, all of these visual bugs, they were stemming from the same cause. Basically, there was an unintentional visual occluder that was placed in the Halandris playspace because of a completely unrelated hotfix. Which just makes you wonder, what does this game look like in the back end? Anyway, this made it so that players could not see what was, of course, on the other side of the occluder. So, good job, occluder. You were doing your job. The main thing to learn here is that video games are built from spaghetti and sellotape. Now, on another positive note, through them fixing this issue, they've actually now cleaned up their hotfix processes and some data stuff, and they say that this will mean that a similar issue won't happen again. So, great to see. And with the last of the in-game updates, that is in fact it for the World of Warcraft news. What a week it has been. So, in terms of things, if you'd like to support the team, there are two ways to do that. So, the things that our game team do are, of course, The Pale Beyond, and, well, actually right now, D&D. Kind of jelly, they really sound like they're having fun. But here I am, recording the WoW news like a big nerd. So, they, of course, do the loot that is on Patreon. It's Monk Month. We got some kick-ass dragons, and I mean, yeah, they're getting into that world. There's stuff going on. It's all pretty cool. But for right now, we do have some kick-ass loot and other things that go on Patreon. Also, there's the video game that we are developing, The Pale Beyond. So if you'd like to check that out, you can check it out on Steam. It is a survival-themed narrative role-playing game. There you go. That's the genres. It's always hard to lock in what a genre actually is for a game because, like, man, genres, it's such a, like, weird, strict, mechanical definition that, yeah, I don't know. Genres. There's, like, a whole discourse on genres kind of being less and less useful over time, and we totally feel that, because I don't think there's particularly many games like what we're doing. So, anyway, development's actually been going really great, by the way, recently. And it's the sort of thing, I'm not going to tell you the number because something could change. The number could end up being a bit bigger, a bit smaller, but, so I don't want to, don't want to lead anyone on. But, yeah, we kind of did a full playthrough of the current version, and we kind of now know what the length is, and suffice to say, we're actually all really, really happy. And that's with more content yet to be added, so that's been really cool. We are, we're on track. Right, we're not behind schedule. I think we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule in a few different ways. So, I mean, yeah, and holy shit, like, I know a lot of people really enjoyed the music in the demo. Man, oh, the music goes places. The music goes places, and I think James is finished music for the project, and he's now doing music for something else that we plan to be doing. So that's also kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to stop teasing you. You can wish this the game on Steam if you're interested. And of course, over on Patreon, there is more loot from that team as well. Have a brilliant weekend. Potentially some good things are on the way for Warcraft, which is, man, it's actually a nice thing to say for once. All right, see you next time.